Hi there. This video is really just to serve as some quick education on a couple of pieces of equipment that we use during the training process with your pup, as well as kind of what's coming home with them. So you have something to look back at and really sort of in advance of them coming home, understand the equipment itself so we can spend more of our time on working with the dog, teaching you how to work with your dog based on all of the foundation that they currently have. So just the basics here. We're not going to in depth on training. We'll cover that when they come home. All right, the first tool that we use is a prong collar. This is what the prong collar looks like. You might already be familiar with it, but just in case you aren't, this is what it looks like. It has a quick clip connect, and that's how you would otherwise attach it to your dog. We buy a very specific brand. It's called Herm Springer. Herm Springer is the industry's finest. Okay, you can kind of see that here where it says Springer on it. And the reason they are so good and the reason we purchased these is that all of these tips are nice and round, and they're not sharp, and they're not going to harm your dog. That is not the intent of using a collar like this, is to use it in any harm at all. In fact, this, though it looks kind of funky, right? It is the most humane collar that you can put on your dog. Couple of reasons for that. One, it sits up high on the neck, not down low around the trachea, but up high, because the idea behind this is we want to control the head, and where the head goes, the body follows. The other thing about these collars is they give even pressure all the way around, even, right? Not a pinch collar or slip lead or something like that that might just pinch one spot in particular, but this gives even pressure all the way around. And a big part of our program is we want to speak the dog's language. Dogs speak in pressure. Physical pressure, you can think about how the mom picks up the pup on the back of the scruff and creates this pressure where the dog then just lays limp until the mom lets go. So very similar language here. And physical pressure, which or spatial pressure, excuse me, where you can think about a border collie as an example, how they move in one direction or the other with a herd that they're trying to herd. So that's their language, and we want to speak their language and then translate it into ours, and that's what we've done here with your pup. So on the prong collar itself, you'll see two different rings here. You'll see one ring that's just a full circle ring, and another ring here that is a half ring, okay? And it also has a swivel here, okay? So the leash itself will go onto this ring here, just simply clipping on there. So now you're on that half ring, and you can see here that full ring. So make sure that it's on this ring, otherwise this will not work as designed, okay? And this is kind of the design, is it will pressure and release, pressure and release, and that's how we've used this collar with your pup, and they understand it very, very well. All right, how to put it on? You can do one of two things. You can either put it on this way and rotate it, or you can put it on this way, but either way, you want to make sure that this part is at the top of the neck here. Once you put it on, snug it up tight so it's nice and up high, as sometimes they kind of slip a little bit, all right? But you want it up nice and high as possible. And the idea is it's already been fit to your dog to the best that we can. You may think, geez, this seems a little snug. It probably is. It needs to be. We want very little play in it, but we want to make sure that there's no pressure on the dog, but still have enough pressure just to be able to very slightly be able to communicate with the dog. And we're going to go through how you use this in the leash and leash pressure and all of those things when your pup comes home. very, very important that you understand it. If you find yourself really yanking and pulling and this kind of thing, then there's some other problem, and please call me so that I can help walk you through it, or if I need to come by for a visit. That is not how this is designed, okay? How this is designed, for example, is if I simply give some leash pressure up, the dog knows to sit, and the leash pressure comes off. If I want to turn the dog one direction or the other, I'm going to leash pressure this way. As the dog comes, there's no more leash pressure. If I want the dog to sit, I pressure down, dog comes down, and the leash pressure comes off. So this is how we've used it, as a pressure on, pressure off piece of equipment. And we did all of the foundational training and teaching in this fashion, and really got the dog to understand how this pressure works, so that we don't have to pull and yank and really use a lot of strength with this. You really shouldn't need it. Very, very light pressure will move your dog one direction or the other, or into a sit, or into a down. So just be aware. You should not need to really muscle your dog. If you are, again, please call me. I can help, all right? So that's the prong collar, and we'll cover the e-collar here next, but just wanted to give you some basic education on the prong collar. And again, next, the e-collar, just so that we can spend more time really on all of the heavy stuff, on the training, and really setting up a great experience for you and your pup, okay? Okay, now we're going to talk about the e-collar. And the e-collar is going to be the most important piece of equipment that you have coming home, and your dog is very, very familiar with it, and it's your best communication with your pup when they come home, right? And it gives you that off-leash obedience as well. So we have a couple of items here. We have your remote, it's the front part there. You have your receiver, this goes on the dog. And last but not least, a charger. And what you'll notice on the charger is it has two separate legs, okay? Which means you can charge both of these at the same time. So on the remote here, you'll see on the back, there's the front, here's the back. You'll see this little rubber trap door. So what we do is we take that and plug it in like so, okay? On the receiver itself, same thing on the back there. You'll see the little rubber door here. So if we just open that up, okay? And now we can take this other leg and just push it in there, okay? So now you can charge both pieces at the same time. Now, a lot of people ask me, how often should I charge it? For me, I just charge it at the end of the day. It usually will last at least a full day. Sometimes it'll last a couple of days, depending on how much you have it on or how much you're using it. But at the same point, I just always, at the end of the day, we'll plug these in so I have it ready for the next day. Okay, let's go into now how these different things and different parts and pieces function. So first part is, how do we turn this stuff on? And it's not necessarily all that intuitive, so I like to cover that here. And again, this is the stuff that I want you to know when I bring your dog home, so we don't have to cover these basic things. We can really spend our time more on how to use the equipment, what your dog knows, and just continuing on with the training that we did here. Okay, so you will notice here on the front, first of all, that clear glass there's no flashing lights, which means this is currently off. And what you'll see here is a little red dot on the receiver itself. That dot will match the dot on your remote. So the way that you turn this on is you are going to match one dot to the other. And you see now the green light came on and is flashing. Now, if this is ever flashing red, it means that this needs to be charged. At the moment it's flashing green, which means it's on and charged and ready to go, okay? To turn it back off again, you're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna match, and you see the red light came on, and now there's no flashing, which means this part is off, okay? Now, for your remote, it is currently in the on position. And on the back, you will see this big rubber black button here, and this will turn it on and turn it off when you press and hold. So, I'm gonna go ahead and press and hold, and you will see it goes off, okay? If I, again, pressing this button here, press and hold, and on it comes, okay? So now this part is on and ready for use. All right, so we have your receiver, we have your remote, this is on, and now we're gonna turn this on. And once this is on, now you wanna put it on your dog. So what's the right position? We like to put it either just to this side or just to this side, just slightly off to each side. If your dog is going to be wearing it for a number of hours for whatever reason, which is totally fine, just make sure you rotate it from time to time, okay? So it's not always just sitting in the same spot, but just rotate it. And it's always a good idea, even from day to day, to rotate it as well, so it's never just sort of wearing in one spot potentially, okay? All right. So, a couple of things about this is you will notice the 1D flashing at the top. Now that means this is set up for one dog. Okay, this remote actually can be programmed to control two different receivers, two different dogs. In fact, that's what I do with mine because I have two labs that have e-collars, and so one is on this button, one is on that button. But the way that this is likely to come home to you is set up for one dog. And so let's go over these two buttons. These are going to be your main two buttons that control the intensity of this receiver, as well as the connection and the timing of when you want to use it. Okay, so if I hit the black button, it is now going on the number 18 there. Okay, so that's the number that's already here. That's the stimulation now that's happening here. So you can see as I hit the button, it's connecting, okay? Now, the red button, you see, jumps up by 5 points, right? Or 5 levels. So that's a boost. So this is the number that's on the front. This is a boost, and we'll jump it up by 5. Okay, so that's the advantage there, is you can quickly come to a different level with your dog if that becomes necessary. It's probably not going to be necessary very often, but you might find it necessary, especially when you're out in the world, potentially out in the wilderness, going on hikes or doing different things with your pup. You know, that's one way that you can quickly get their attention if necessary. All right, on the front here, this dial up top is what is going to control the numbers on the front. Okay, now what do the numbers mean? Well, the numbers are different levels of intensity that your dog will feel on the receiver itself. This remote goes from 0 to 100. Your dog likely works at something less than 10, so very, very mild. When we conditioned your dog to the e-collar, I looked for the very lowest level that they would sense even anything at all. So likely, like I said, something less than 10, certainly, and that's what we worked off of. That's how we created this off-leash obedience that you'll be really amazed at when your pup comes home. Okay, and when your pup comes home, we'll talk about what that number is for him or her, because every dog is very different. No dog works on the same number, okay? Now, don't get too hung up on the number, because when you're out and about, different distractions, different things are happening, you may go up. It doesn't really matter. You're not gonna harm your dog, And I promise that, you know, as you dial up, if it becomes necessary, you're not going to harm your dog. But what you end up doing is getting their attention in a very distracted environment. Okay? All right. So, another key feature to this. Again, with this black button, instead of pressing and holding, I'm just going to click it one time. All right. And now you see there's a light flashing. If I click it one more time, it's just going to stay on. If I click it one more time, it clicks off. So I use that when I'm out on my early morning walks or late evening walks during dusk to make sure people can see us. It's even nice if you have it, if you have the glass window pointing downwards, because now it can really shine on your path as well as you're walking your dog late at night or running with your dog, whichever. But again, that's kind of one neat feature of this. By the way, this is also waterproof, okay? Make sure your charger doors here, and on here are closed, and so that you truly are waterproof at that point. I have actually had my dogs in the ocean with these on, and they're still wearing the same ones. They work great, but you got to make sure those charger doors are closed, otherwise they can corrode, okay? So just some neat features of this unit. We buy the best equipment in the industry for that reason, for the dog's comfort, as well as the usability for our clients. So those are just a couple of key components, okay? All right, so let's cover this button here. This button here is going to be set up for tone versus vibrate, but it can be used either way. So if you're pushing this button, it is not working on a stimulus. It is just either vibrating or emitting a tone, which is how we use it. I don't use the tone for much at the moment, but you can use the tone for recall or get your dog's attention or those sorts of things. Okay? All right. The last thing here that I want to cover is you will see next to the number there the letter C. That means continuous. So that means if I press and hold this button, it will stay on and it will stay in a stimulus mode at that number for 10 seconds. And then even while I'm holding it, it will shut off after 10 seconds, okay? So that gives you 10 seconds. The other thing you can do, however, it doesn't always have to be that way. You can also use it as just a momentary tap, right? Just like that, okay? So I can use it on continuous or just a tap, okay? And that's where, when it says C, that's what it means, continuous. Now, if for some reason somebody's playing with this and pushes the button and we see the M and C there, that means this one is momentary, this one is continuous. Momentary, continuous. If I touch this button again, now it's just on momentary, which means this button is just momentary. This one is momentary boost. So it's just a quick clip, but it cuts off after a quick second. The way we have these set up when they come home to you, if I push this button again, is on continuous, so that you can either do it as a quick tap, momentary, or continuous. And you're gonna find that you might use them in both of those ways. So it's important just to know what it's set on and make sure that you're always set on continuous. That's what we recommend. Okay, so that covers the e-collar, the remote, and the transmitter, how you charge it. These are all basics that I want you to know before your pup comes home. So again, we can spend our time on working with your dog, working with your family, and really making sure you understand what your dog already understands. And I can promise you that we had a great time together. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of the pictures and videos that we've sent through so you can see your dog's progress. I tell you, we get so attached to these pups. They're just so great to work with and so much fun. And I hope you've enjoyed the experience here with Family Friendly Canine. And I hope this video serves as a way of just giving you the basics if you ever need to look back at it again, if you're unsure after our go home session, you have this to really reference and go back to. All right. Hope you enjoy, and can't wait to see you when we bring your pup home. Take care.